This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh boy. Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this?
$60 million and a trail of claims Diddy's private jet wasn't just a symbol of luxury. It's now at the center of a jaw-dropping scandal. What were the startling accusations that brought federal agents to his hangar? And how does this story turn when the handcuffs come out? Let's break it down step by step.
The road again. This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh boy. Are you crazy? Happy birthday to you. Merry Christmas. My first time in this thing.
It's gonna be better once some stuff is swapped.
Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
Yo.
Hey, yo, check it out. For inspirational and motivational uses only, I'm going to take me a nap. I'll see y'all in the A, man. What up, morning?
Good morning, send nothing but love and positive vibrations your way. Love.
Yo, we on our way to make some historical, beautiful, much needed soul to the soul capital of the world, ATL. We are on our way, and we bring nothing but love and positive vibes and smash hit motherfucking records. Love is in the building, and I'm taking no shorts. Here's to us, to us, to us, to us. Love, 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 love.
What is a freak off? The freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism.
He had everything to do with what she was wearing. She said she would buy outfits from sex shops and see which one he wanted her to wear. And then inside the actual hotel rooms, their apartments where the freak-offs took place, she said that Combs was in charge of lighting. It began with candles. It then moved to studio lighting.
They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that.
Star witness taking the stand, but it was more than that. It was how Cassie took that stand. You could hear a pin drop when those doors opened, and a visibly pregnant Cassie Ventura walking past a man she had not seen in 6.5 years. A man she says violently abused her for a decade. A man the prosecution said trafficked her. Well, she sat across from him, placed her overcoat behind her, turning her body slightly toward the jury, rubbing her pregnant belly throughout her testimony. Diddy, well, he was more fidgety than he was the day before. He was passing notes. He pushed himself away from the defense table and largely sat like that. They never seemed to make eye contact with one another, not even after she was crying about having loved him once and planning and participating in these freak-off sex parties because she feared him and she wanted to make him happy, but feeling worthless, feeling disgusting because she didn't want to do it. Now, with each moment, the testimony became more and more graphic. Her delivery, though, it never changed. It was matter of fact, steady, calm. At times, she was even critical of herself, walking us all through how a 10-album record deal came over a 10-year period of abuse and sexual humiliation.
First glance, Diddy's $60 million private jet is the ultimate status symbol. Sleek custom interiors, the soft glow of ambient lighting illuminating leather seats, hand-woven carpets, and glossy wood finishes. It's designed for power moves in the sky, a place where deals are made, vacations are launched, and the ultra-elite lie untouchably above it all. But what if that image was hiding something that's exactly what recent allegations suggest? Federal agents believe this jet wasn't just a playground for opulence, but may have doubled as a vehicle for something far darker. According to investigators, the jet was allegedly used to transport women to what have been dubbed freak-offs, a term reportedly referring to exclusive high-security parties with adult themes. The legality of these parties is not the issue. Instead, it's the means by which these women allegedly arrived and their roles at these gatherings that have raised serious questions. The jet's private status, its ability to bypass much of the scrutiny commercial flights face, and Diddy's position of massive influence may have allowed this to go unnoticed for years. Investigators allegedly discovered troubling Patterns in the jet's flight records pointing to repeated trips to specific locations, coinciding with events described as private gatherings. Sources claimed that manifest discrepancies, where the number of passengers recorded and those who actually boarded didn't match, were noted on several occasions. These inconsistencies reportedly flagged the flights for federal attention. In one instance, a manifest allegedly included just 3 names, yet insiders close to the investigation suggest as many as 10 individuals were seen boarding the plane that day. Private jets often operate in a bubble of discretion, which is part of their allure. There's no TSA line, no public passenger list, and often no trail of who exactly comes and goes. That privacy comes at a hefty cost, and ironically offers conditions perfect for avoiding paper trails. It's this veil of secrecy mixed with scattered bits of evidence that investigators began to pull apart for Diddy, a man whose wealth fuels his larger-than-all-life image. This isn't just about what happens in the sky. It's about what this jet represents as these allegations emerge. The once glamorous symbol of luxury and success now risks becoming a physical manifestation of scandal. If true, the idea that this aircraft fied women with questionable consent or intent is not only damaging, but career-ending. As more questions swirl around this jet, one stands out. Could its luxurious interiors be covering up years of unthinkable exploitation? This isn't just a potential crime scene, it's a potent metaphor for power unchecked, and while the public quickly associates responsibility with Diddy's name, investigators are far from finished connecting the dots. That's where the raid and the hunt for answers comes.
Is that what he's doing? Is he running an entertainment and fashion industry, or is he running essentially a criminal organization?
By the way, we have a poll up right now. You can participate in it. Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this? Ready for this? 82%. Well, this doesn't make sense. 82% say yes. I don't know if that's yes to, I think we need clarification. 82% say victim or partner. We'll get a clarification on that.
By the way,
right now.
But that's my answer to that question.
Oh, okay. 82% say victim. 82% say victim. Maybe based on we're reporting on the testimony right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think she is a victim if the allegations are true, but also she is involved in some of the criminal act. I mean, she's getting those prostitutes, right? She's making payments to them, allegedly. She's having them come. So she's involved in some of the alleged criminal activity. And that's an interesting point that wouldn't just apply to her. Other people in his orbit might be some combination of victim and co-conspirator.
But you know what? That video changes everything, because the argument would be, what do you think happens if she says no? Yeah. What do you think happens if she says, I'm not in the mood for a freak off tonight. I'm not going to pay the dancer.
I'll be sure he came out saying that Kim Porter death needs to be looked into.
I think that Al being his ex-wife, he have every right knowing about the stuff that came out about Diddy and what he was doing. You understand what he has done in the past, and people have overlooked it. By him coming out and saying that he hoped that he could get her case reopened. There was a guy called John Paperwork, the Paperwork Party. They would put in an open petition to get Kim's case reopened. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll be sure doing this is showing that, he still got love for Quincy's mother. He still want to find out the truth, because allegedly Kim was fine the day before and the day of her death. And then now she found in the bed dead from pneumonia. That just don't sound right, bro. That don't sound right at all.
So you feel the same way about her death being suspect?
I don't think nobody in America thinks nothing suspicious about Kim's death, bro. If you are rich like that, you could, Kim had, I think a net worth of like, what, 12 million a year or something like that? Kim could have called any doctor to come over and look at her. If she was that bad, she could have called an ambulance or something like that. Everything is suspicious about her death, bro. And I don't think an autopsy was done on her. And if it was a half job.
You personally, right? What do you think happened to Kim Porter?
If I say something personal, bro, and my belief, and I put it on to the public?
The scene was straight out of a Hollywood film. Federal agents swarmed into the private hangar, a curtain of tension falling over the space. As they moved with purpose, the target was Diddy's prized $60 million jet, an aircraft that had become a cornerstone of his luxury lifestyle. But this wasn't an inspection for mechanical faults or routine paperwork. The agents arrived armed with search warrants and suspicions, believing the plane was tied to a deeper, more unsettling narrative. What they were looking for became clear. Almost immediately, records, evidence, anything that could tie the jet to allegations of transporting women to exclusive freak-off gatherings. These events, described by those familiar with the investigation, were reportedly invitation-only parties involving high-profile guests and steep levels of secrecy. The women at the center of this were said to often be under obligations that blurred the lines of consent, raising alarms about coercion and trafficking. Law enforcement had been piecing this case together for months. Interviews with close contacts, digital surveillance, and tracking. The jet's flight patterns had revealed a string of destinations that aligned with whispers about these freak-offs. Particular interest was drawn to stops at private estates and resorts known for hosting A-list clientele. Investigators reportedly connected the dots, tying these gatherings and the people in attendance back to Diddy's private aircraft. Its flight logs told a curious story: short trips to locations that didn't add up with passenger counts that fluctuated in ways investigators found suspicious. As agents inspected, the jet claims from insider sources grew louder. Specific flights were allegedly linked to events where attendees included women flown in from various locations. There was talk of handwritten notes left behind by the crew, detailing odd manifests and guest drop-offs. Law enforcement reportedly found corroborating evidence in the form of digital communication between jet staff and external parties involved in organizing these gatherings, from text messages to emails. The narrative investigators were building came into sharper focus. Then came the moment of confrontation when Diddy was reportedly approached with the federal findings. His reaction was described as initially blank staring in silence. As the weight of the accusations began to settle, sources within law enforcement claimed the confrontation involved mention of the discrepancies in his jet manifest records and repeated connections to flights that ended in luxury resorts known for high-profile guest lists. While some witnesses claim he denied knowledge of any wrongdoing, Diddy's initial lack of response left many speculating whether this was shock defiance or calculated silence. The search didn't just end with the jet. The agents had reportedly already begun identifying a larger network tied to these allegations. A sprawling list of names, organizers, passengers, and associates is said to be emerging, complicating the investigation by the hour. With Diddy now under federal scrutiny, attention has turned to uncovering who else might be caught in this widening web as the allegations mount. The next question is just how deep does this go in?
Time started as with a totally different name,
Yup.
by the way. I don't
Yeah,
trust,
you're the one that put me onto that
I
rabbit
don't trust
hole.
men that change their names, least of all 3 times, okay? A family that goes from Goldstein to G to Grange doesn't make sense to me. And you have him at the top of the food chain, heavily implied by Little Rod that they were allowing this to go on to get blackmail on certain people, and they just disappear him.
And I mean,
What's the logic here?
It's
no
understandable.
Evidence. There's tapes. Little Rod said there's nothing but tapes.
Tapes of everything.
And that Diddy was taping the people that were coming as well.
Yep. Yeah.
When he's mentioned in a Little Rod lawsuit as the fixer, to show you how extreme what he's being accused of is essentially he's the guy you call if you shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He intimates this scene in the lawsuit, Little Rod, where Diddy allegedly and his son allegedly shoot some guy in a bathroom. Little Rod is as this guy is bleeding out, cleaning up, trying to help this guy. He's very close or just outside of the bathroom. Little Rod might have been in the bathroom. And he knows that after Diddy and his son come up and shoot this guy, he's trying to apply pressure to the wound. And they know that you have to call this guy, and he'll get the correct person over at LAPD to come over, and they'll tell a lie. And he says that the next day the press ran a story that there was a drive-by shooting. And he's like, that's not what happened at all. And it made me really think about the book Chaos that so many people on my podcast have listened to and watched. I mean, have listened to, and it's describing a corrupt LAPD with feds that are involved and know how to disappear certain things. And we know that to be factually true based on the Charles Manson murders. So this
investigation isn't stopping at Diddy. What began as questions about his $60 million jet has spiraled into a much larger probe. Federal agents are now looking at a network, an intricate web of associates, employees, and even other celebrities.
makes me super uncomfortable.
The investigation isn't stopping at Diddy. What began as questions about his $60 million jet has spiraled into a much larger probe. Federal agents are now looking at a network, an intricate web of associates, employees, and even other celebrities who may have played a role, whether directly or indirectly, in these alleged activities. The jet is no longer the sole focus. It's a gateway leading to deeper layers, and each discovery continues to add weight to the case. Sources close to the investigation claim that certain business associates tied to Diddy's operations may have been involved in facilitating these alleged freak-off flights. This includes individuals responsible for booking travel or managing events. Investigators are reportedly leaning heavily on digital evidence, text messages, emails, and financial documents to reconstruct who made arrangements for the women allegedly transported on these trips. Some of these communications, officers say, suggest careful planning to ensure privacy and avoid detection, further cementing suspicions of an organized effort behind the scenes. The claims don't stop there. Allegations have surfaced implicating other high-profile figures who may have attended these exclusive gatherings and even used the jet themselves. Specific names have yet to be reported publicly as the investigation remains ongoing, but whispers within the industry suggest this case could ripple far beyond Diddy's inner circle. Frequent patrons of similar parties and beneficiaries of the jet's supposed discretionary travel are now under scrutiny. The question isn't just who knew about these activities. Investigators are asking who helped make them possible. Money, of course, plays a key role in the inquiry. Federal agents are reportedly dissecting financial transactions tied to the jet's operation, from maintenance fees to pilot and crew payments. They are tracing how funds flowed, examining payments issued to individuals allegedly connected to these gatherings, and watching for signs of illegal activity, such as unregistered transfers or unusual expenditure patterns tied to the flights. Investigators believe that if this network of alleged exploitation exists, it left behind a trail of evidence in the form of bank statements and logistical correspondence. To date, sources claim that more than a dozen people are under investigation, though that number is expected to grow. Their potential roles range from helping coordinate the flights to facilitating the events that allegedly turned this jet into more than just a mode of transportation. What's emerging isn't just a story about one celebrity. It appears to be pulling back the curtain on a larger culture that thrives in the fog of wealth, fame, and unregulated privacy. An industry insider speaking anonymously described the issue bluntly. When these guys fly private, they act like the rules don't exist. Nobody's looking at them, so they do whatever they want. If true, Diddy's case could bring a rare spotlight to these hidden corners of the entertainment world. How far will that spotlight reach? And if others are implicated, how many might fall with him? While these details continue to unfold, Diddy's time in custody is already sparking new controversies of its own.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever he calls himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people. I had settlement with Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I'll be in the...
I've never really quite understood why Diddy's fame has lasted this long, why he is so wealthy, how he's doing all of these extravagant things. Like, genuinely, I've never really quite understood it. And it's just interesting because when three things that seemed so crazy end up fact-checking true, he also mentioned in this, we didn't show this clip, but he mentions pink cocaine.
Yeah.
At that time, no one knew what he was talking about. Suddenly, Lil Rod's lawsuit is speaking about that exact same drug that he's saying is a combination of all sorts of drugs like MDMA and cocaine. And again, all of this is allegedly, but he says that essentially that's what Diddy is giving out at these parties that has people that is so high, rather. And then another piece of this, which we didn't show, which he said at that time in terms of saving Trump, was he says that he saw in the Illuminati card deck that they were going to try to assassinate Trump. Again, what year was this that Jonathan Odie was arrested?
That was 2018.
And we can also now confirm that he was indeed a sex slave to Cassie and Diddy because he's testifying at this trial.
From the gilded confines of his $60 million jet to the cold, unforgiving walls of a jail cell, the shift in Diddy's circumstances could not be more stark. Arrested amidst allegations that have shaken both the music industry and his personal empire, insiders claim the reality of his situation hit him hard as he faced his first few days in custody. For a man accustomed to private chefs, tailored suits, and life at the top, the experience has reportedly been a dramatic fall from grace. Initial accounts of Diddy's behavior behind bars paint a picture of a man oscillating between controlled composure and underlying frustration. Sources close to the case suggest that Diddy, while outwardly calm during processing, appeared tense, keeping his usually dominating presence subdued. Whispers from the facility allege that he has been keeping largely to himself, declining conversation with most inmates. Though these claims remain unconfirmed by officials, the idea of a once untouchable figure, now stripped of his power and isolated in detention, has captivated the public. But adjusting to life in custody isn't just about the solitary confinement of power, it's also about survival. Reports indicate that Diddy may be relying on his legal team now more than ever. His lawyers, among the best money can buy, are allegedly building a defense aimed at tearing apart the federal case against him. Their reported strategy includes challenging the legitimacy of the evidence tied to the jet, questioning the credibility of witnesses, and, according to some rumors, even pushing the narrative that any alleged misconduct involving the jet was carried out without Diddy's direct knowledge. Whether that argument will hold up has yet to be seen. Behind the scenes, Diddy's legal team is not just countering the allegations, they're also working to control the narrative. It's said they are actively engaging with media outlets, focusing on keeping the story framed as an overreach of federal power rather than personal wrongdoing. However, inside the jail, the conversation leans into a different direction. Unconfirmed accounts suggest that Diddy has clashed with facility staff on small matters, reinforcing the sense of tension and unease that seems to follow him post-arrest. Meanwhile, reports of Diddy's interactions with law enforcement during his arrest have added new layers to the story. Officers who were present described his demeanor as largely cooperative, but noted moments of visible frustration when questioned about specific flights and guests tied to the allegations. Some claim he made remarks that could be interpreted as dismissive of the situation, though whether they were intentional or a side effect of the stress remains unclear. Similarly, rumors of heated interactions with other inmates, particularly those who have recognized him, suggest that his star power hasn't translated smoothly into this vastly different environment. The media frenzy surrounding Diddy's arrest has been relentless. Photos of him in handcuffs, paired with court sketches, and leaked snippets of case details have ignited debates across social media. For some, it's a shocking example of accountability deserved, but for others, it's seen as another instance of a high-profile figure being targeted for fame alone. The reactions are as polarized as Diddy's own public image, an entrepreneur praised for building a billion-dollar legacy, now facing accusations that could dismantle it completely. As the days pass, the focus shifts to what this fight will cost him. His brand, long synonymous with wealth, freedom, and influence, now risks becoming tethered forever to scandal. With his legacy hanging in the balance, one pressing question remains. Is Diddy gearing up for the battle of his life, or is the foundation of his empire already starting to crumble? This case isn't just about one man, it's a reflection of something bigger. What's left to uncover may shake even more foundations.
His interview that Tupac is still alive and he's in Cuba.
Drops it out of nowhere.
And that's been a major conspiracy that Tupac's still alive. I've never looked into that one. I just want to be very clear. But because I'm going back and I'm thinking it's just strange that everything this man said, or too much of what he said, has fact-checked true, which seems so bizarre. That another very bizarre claim he made, that Tupac's alive, he's in Cuba, and he's just like chilling and saying that, it just kind of gets you thinking about
all sorts of other things.
What is reality?
All sorts of other things.
What is reality?
I also, while we're on the Black Boule thing, that Jonathan
Could you describe,
already brings
by the way,
up the Black
because
Boule.
when you actually brought up the Black Boule, I had no idea what that was.
I don't know a lot about it, and I think that there's a lot of versions of it. As like, I think that it's like, you know, Vatican conspiracies go all sorts of different directions. The Jew conspiracies go all sorts of directions. And the Black Boule, I think the understanding is that it traces back to like the black nobility and one of the royal families. And LeBron James does have a gigantic back tattoo of the crest, like the symbol itself of the Black Boule. Very literally the exact image.
Well,
or it's his chest, I think. I
think it's on his chest. I think I saw that in your video. And
Kind of weird.
so that's interesting that he's saying he's a member of this, especially as we're now learning so much about what took place at these Diddy parties. And I want to be clear here. We can't really discuss Cassie's testimony because I try to keep this show family friendly, and I just
There's
can't.
not a single piece of that is.
That is right. I can't read anything about these transcripts. Yeah. Suffice it to say, they were into just the most debased, disgusting sexual stuff that you could possibly imagine. Yeah. She was very clear that she was high on drugs throughout a lot of it. I completely believe that based on what we've learned from Little Rod and learned from other people, including this guy, Jonathan Odie, that was definitively one component of this. But it's interesting that we're talking about the idea of these people selling out the Black community on behalf of somebody else, because there are some dogs that are not barking. That had me very concerned in this case, because I read through Little Rod's lawsuit and I very much expected that the Universal execs would be brought into this, into the hearing at the very least to testify. Yeah. And also the biggest person missing here is Christina Carrano.
When scandals like this make headlines, it's almost impossible to look away. Behind the salacious details, though, is something much bigger. A story about power, secrecy, and the unchecked privileges afforded to the wealthy elite. Diddy's case isn't just a tabloid bombshell, it's a mirror reflecting the darker realities of fame and influence, pulling us into a conversation about accountability in industries historically protected by wealth and status. The entertainment world has long been both exalted and criticized for its insulation from consequence. Celebrities operate in a space where rules seem negotiable, shielded by legal teams, public relations experts, and private access that keeps the outside world conveniently at arm's length. Private jets are a perfect tool in this equation, offering a controlled environment while bypassing the regulatory oversight of commercial travel. This scandal shakes the foundation of that carefully curated privacy. It suggests that in some cases, power might not just be enabling indulgence, but exploitation. There's a reason the public is drawn to stories like this. It isn't just the names involved or the shocking specifics. It's the idea of a figure so seemingly untouchable being implicated in something so brazen. It blurs the lines of admiration and detachment, forcing people to reconcile their fandom with the allegations unfolding before their eyes. But it also reinforces the notion that where there's fame, there's always more to the story. The allure of these cases lies in their ability to humanize the larger-than-life, while simultaneously exposing the systems that keep them elevated. What makes this case particularly significant, though, is its potential to set precedent. Private air travel has always been a gray area when it comes to scrutiny. Limited passenger manifests and restricted access have allowed an unmonitored world to flourish away from public accountability. If investigators succeed in making these allegations stick, it could change how law enforcement approaches the world of private aviation, placing more focus on regulations that could close the loopholes currently left open for abuse. The fallout from even the allegations has already started to ripple outward. Reputations are on the line and careers could face ruin depending on where the investigation leads. For Diddy, a man whose brand hinges on aspiration and affluence, the damage is clear, but he's hardly the only one under the microscope. A larger network is beginning to emerge, and with it comes deeper questions about systemic exploitation that transcends the music industry. If this turns out to be more than an isolated case, it has the potential to drag other multifaceted power structures into the light. These scandals aren't new, even if the names and details change. One 2021 report on celebrity exploitation highlighted dozens of similar allegations tied to private parties, luxury events, and coercive travel arrangements. What stands out here is the scale and Diddy's central position in it all. The question now is whether this case sparks a cultural reckoning or fades into the background like so many others. Another headline without lasting reform. And just how much more is still waiting to be uncovered. If investigators are right, the story is far from over. This case has already sent shockwaves through both the entertainment industry and public perception, with allegations raising uncomfortable truths about wealth shielding accountability. Could this scandal finally force us to re-examine how power operates behind closed doors? That remains unclear, but one thing is certain: Diddy's empire has shifted under his feet, and the investigation shows no signs of slowing down. The story is far from over, and as more details emerge, more questions will undoubtedly follow. What's next for Diddy, his circle, and the industry at large? Stay tuned, because this is only the beginning of what could be a defining cultural moment.